Hey everybody, how's it going? Meaning that the NFL draft is coming up on Thursday night, I figured last year I broke down a lot of position players at each position. I broke down the top five. This year I decided to go with let me try to go out with a first round mock draft. Now I think in this draft this year there's gonna be a lot of movement in the first round. Uh, there's a lot of depth in this draft, so expect teams that who are in spots that they don't want to be and they don't want to see that right guy there, they'll definitely drop back in this draft just to get more picks because this draft, especially at at rounds 2 and 3, are just filled with very good talent and very good depth. But starting off with the number one overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're one of those teams that they're trying to get rid of that number one pick uh, because I have them taking Luke Joeckel from Texas A&M, the elite tackle who I think is the best. I think he's the best prospect and ready to plug and play right away. Great hands, great footwork, great technique. But I think that since we've seen tackles, especially elite left tackles, get taken first overall. But I think Kansas City wants to try to get a little bit more, so they might drop back to a team like Detroit who wants to probably come up, or maybe a team like Cleveland who wants to move up, just find a way to, if they can move back. But I'm taking Kansas City with the number one overall pick. I think they're going to take Luke Joeckel out of Texas A&M. Moving on to the number two overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that they have a lot of needs, but I think they're going to go after more of a pass rusher. And I have them either taking either Deion Jordan or Ezekiel Ziggy Asa from BYU. But I think at the end of the day, they go with Ziggy Asa. I think that he's more of a. I think that Deion Jordan at the end could have the most potential because he's just learning the defensive end outside rush position. But I think that Ziggy Asa will be better for the Jaguars, especially in what they're trying to do. But I think they'll take Ziggy Asa with the number three overall pick. I got the Oakland Raiders. Everybody know who they wanted to take from this whole time, and I think they're gonna go for the defensive tackle in Sharif Floyd from Florida. I think he's the best. I think he's the best and most versatile prospect that we see at the defensive line position. Especially he's a guy that can play. He could play the three technique, one gap penetration, or he could move over in a 34 scheme, and he could play a lot of five technique. But I think that his ability, the way he disrupts the game. He disrupts the offensive line going upfield. I think he's the best at doing that in this draft. So I definitely expect Sharif Floyd to go number three in Oakland if they don't try to move up to number one. If they have the inkling that Jacksonville might decide to take Sharif Floyd, which I think is highly unlikely. But I think that Kansas City might try to bait Oakland to get a little bit, to move back 2 spots and get a little bit more out of Oakland, just because they want to show off that, okay, look what I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to take Sharif Floyd, but I think Sharif Floyd is the one guy that they really want in this draft. So I definitely think he goes 3 to Oakland. Number 4 overall, the Philadelphia Eagles. They could do a lot here. They could go Geno Smith. They can go Deion Jordan. He's an Oregon guy. Chip Kelly. Sometimes coaches from college like to bring their own guys in. But I think that they need a left tackle, especially with the loss of Peters last year and King Dunlop now. And that offensive line really struggled this year. And I think that they'll go with Lane. I think they'll go with Lane Johnson out of Oklahoma. I think he, from an athletic standpoint, for the offensive line, especially a tackle, I think he's one of the other elite prospects, elite tackles in this draft. And I think that his athletic ability and playing the left side of that line and protecting the blind side, whoever plays quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, is definitely going to be huge. But I won't be surprised also if the Eagles do try to trade back. So that's something that I think they really would look at. Going with the number 5 pick overall, the Detroit Lions. I think they had their eyes on a guy they had their eyes on Ziggy Asa. So expect they might try to get up in that first round. But I think all along they want D. Milner. I think he has potential to be a very great corner in this league, an elite corner in this league. And I think that they could go Deion Jordan as well, or maybe surprise a couple of people and go Kiki Mingo from LSU, because they're definitely going to need help on that defensive line, especially since they let Cliff Averill go in free agency. So, and they want to shore up that offensive line. And I think Kiki would be actually kind of good in the Y9 that they like to run, the Y9 defense that they like to run. So I think it's between those two guys if they don't try to move up and go get Ziggy Ansah. But I think at the end of the day they go get D. Milner, the cornerback from Alabama, and shore up that secondary, which really struggled last year for them. Number 6 overall, the Cleveland Browns. Now this team is tricky to me because I think that they need several needs, but they're in a position where I think they want to get D. Milner, so they might. So that's why I say a team like Oakland or the team like the Jags or even Kansas City might take a risk, which I think is the highly unlikely to drop all the way to 6. Because if I think that KC drops to 6, I think that they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose Jokel, but I think they're comfortable with either taking another tackle. But Cleveland, I could see them taking Tyler Eifert, the tight end, which I think would be a reach, but he's a very good player. I could see them taking Geno Smith. I could see them taking Eric Fisher. I could see them taking Chance Womack. I could see them just taking a variety of different guys, but I think at the end of the day they'll try to find a way. But more than likely, I think they're going to try to trade back, get some more draft picks, get some more depth to move further down in this draft. They can either go get Deion Jordan too, but I think something tells me that they're going to take Geno Smith, and they don't have to play him right away. You got Jason Campbell in your camp. You have Brandon Weeden, who I don't think that the coaches over there like from like what they like to run, and they can groom Geno Smith in the long run. So I think that Geno might go to Cleveland with the number 6 overall pick. That's something that you should really look out for. Number 7 with the Cardinals. I think this is where they're going to need pass rush help. I think they go for the best. I think the best guy with the most potential out of the rush linebackers, 34-4-3. I think they go Deion Jordan here, shore up that pass rushing ability, be able to get to the quarterback more. I think they definitely gonna that. Or if they're not, I could see them taking Eric Fisher, or I could see them taking somebody to help shore up that offensive line. But I think they're definitely gonna go with the pass rusher here if they don't move back or trade up. So I think the Cardinals at 7 are definitely gonna take Deion Jordan from Oregon. That's thing. Now moving on to number 8, the Buffalo Bills. Now the Buffalo Bills need talent, I think, on the offensive side of the football, as well as they need help on defense, especially in that front 7. I have them taking Eric Fisher from Central Michigan, the last elite tackle that's left. But there's been a lot of talk, and Ryan Nassib might be the guy that they take at 8. I think it will be a mistake personally. I think they're one of those teams that you can get your left tackle and then try to find a way to get back into the later part of the first round and go grab Ryan Nassib if you can. But I think them reaching to go get Nassib at 8, even though Coach Marrone was his quarterback in college, but I think that's going to be a mistake of trying to get him so early. Like I believe that how Miami last year went to go get Tannehill early. But maybe Ryan Nassib goes there, but I think that they do draft Eric Fisher from Central Michigan and they try to move up late in the first round with some of these teams that have multiple picks or some of these teams that don't like their positioning and try to drop out of the first round, and Buffalo can sneak up in there and go get Ryan Nassib. Number 9 overall, you got the New York Jets. I had them taking Kiki Mingo from LSU. He's the type of guy that would help bring that elite pass rushing ability. A guy who is very scheme versatile. He could play outside linebacker in a 34 scheme that the Jets like to run, or he could play 4-3 when they spin down to a nickel package and they can move guys and they'll spin him down. But I think the Jets are going to try to move back, get depth, because they really need a lot of talent, especially when it comes to the offensive side of football. So I think they trade down and they try to get one of those lower core wide those wide receivers like a Keenan Allen or a Corell Thompson or Justin Hunter or even Tavon Austin probably. They just got to find a way, especially since they let Revis go. They have to find a way to score points, and that's always been the Jets' biggest downfall. They had the best defense, pass defense, number 2 last year. They have to score points, but I do think if they stay pat at number 9, they're going to go take Kiki Mingo from the University of Louisiana. Go with number 10, the Tennessee Titans. I think they can go either way here, offensive or defensive line help. I think they go with Star Latui. Hopefully everything looks like it checked out with his health, with his heart. And I think that Star Latui is a guy who a lot of teams like going into this process before the real big red flag came up about his health. but I think they do take this guy. I think he's one of the best defensive tackles in this draft. I think he could be a star in this league, no pun intended. But I think that he could be a disruptor. He could play the 1. He could play the 3 technique. He's very athletic for his size, and I really like him a lot at that defensive tackle position. Or they could also go guard, but I think they do go Star Latude. Moving on to number 11, I have the San Diego Chargers. Now the San Diego Chargers, I think, is going to go guard here. Whichever picking they like, do they like Chance Warmack from Alabama, or do they like Jonathan Cooper? I think they're just definitely going to go offensive line to help out, to replace a couple guys that they lost on the offensive line this past season. So I think they're going to go Chance Warmack from the University of Alabama. Moving on to number 12, the Miami Dolphins. Now this is a tricky spot for them. They lost Sean Smith this year. They traded away at the beginning of the season Vontae Davis. I do think they go corner here, and I think they go Xavier Rhodes, a big corner. One of the best corners in this draft. A lot of people don't really know about him. Played at Florida State. I think he was the best cover corner at Florida State. Even though when Florida State had Greg Reed at that time, I think he was the best cover all-around corner for Florida State. Big guy, about 6'1", 6'2", maybe even 6'3". A big guy who can run, and he can help replace the Sean Smith and Vontae Davis that they lost to free agency, because Miami definitely had problems covering the pass last year and covering receivers. So I definitely expect them to go there. Number 13, we're back with the New York Jets. Got the trade for Revis with the first-round pick. I think they might try to trade this pick too, and just keep going further down that draft. Try to get some offensive help. Maybe they reach here and they go with Tavon Austin, but I think they're going to go guard, and they're going to help shore up that right side of the offensive line with Jonathan Cooper from North Carolina. I think Jonathan Cooper is a road grader, guy who can help out in the run, a very good pass protector, a solid athlete for his size, and I think they go there. Moving on to the 14th overall pick, go to the Carolina Panthers. Panthers, I definitely think they're going to go D-tackle here, show up that defensive line, especially up the middle. They were really lacked that talent up there, and I think they're definitely going to go Sheldon Richardson from Missouri. Sheldon Richardson is a guy who I think is another scheme versatile guy. He could play the 1 nose, he could play the 3 1 gap penetration, or he can even bump out to a 5 technique and a 34 scheme. So I think he's a player that people really need to watch out for, and I think he could be a very good player in this league. Moving on to the 15th overall pick, go with the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans, they can go several ways here. They can help show up the secondary, I think. Probably go corner. Maybe it's a reach. They could go safety. Kenny Vaccaro out of Texas. I could see him in that Rob Ryan scheme, but I think they lack pass rushing. And Rob Ryan's defense, that 34 defense, that attacking style defense, I think they're going to need a very good pass rusher, and I think they're going to go Jarvis Jones, a guy who's fell back because of production and the way he looked in his combine. But I think that if he goes to that scheme, that would be perfect for him, and expect him probably to be a double-digit sack guy going into the season, especially with that defense. But I also think that New Orleans and the Jets can make some type of trade, because I think they want Kiki Mingo as much more as the Jets like. So expect the Saints and the Jets to try to make a 9-15 swap there, so they can go get Kiki Mingo. If they don't land Kiki Mingo, expect them to take Jarvis Jones. And for the last pick in this video, I think that the Seattle Rams are going to go Tavon Austin. He's the most dynamic playmaker in this draft from the offensive side. They lost Danny Amendola last year. This year in the off season, going to the Jets, and I think Sam Bradford needs a weapon, especially a big time weapon. He can help out in the kick return, punt return game, and he's a guy who you can put all over the field, and he'll definitely make people worry. So Tavon Austin, I think, is going to go number 16 overall to the St. Louis Rams.